country continues to implement measures to tackle the spread of COVID-19, you are being encouraged to adhere to all safety precautions. These include wearing a face mask every time you leave your homes, frequently sanitizing or washing your hands, and practicing social distancing. Welcome to InfoHub for Friday, August 14. Thanks for joining us as we keep you informed of the work of the new PPPC government as they take us into the new era of development. His Excellency Dr. Mohammed Irfan Ali and his wife, Her Excellency Arya Ali, have been tested negative for COVID-19. However, with the exception of Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Honorable Hugh Todd, and just recently Minister of Tourism, Industry and Commerce, Honorable Unej Waldron Alikok, the rest of the PPPC cabinet ministers have tested negative.
The government officials were tested on Wednesday for COVID-19 after it was brought to President Irfan Ali's attention that Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, the Honorable Hugh Todd, had came into contact with someone who had tested positive for the virus. With the exception of Minister of Tourism, Industry and Commerce, the Honorable Unej Waldron Alikok, all of the rest of the PPPC cabinet members have tested negative. Minister Waldron Alikok has since gone into self-isolation in keeping with public health guidelines. Surinam's President, His Excellency Chandrika Prasad Santokhi, U.S. Ambassador to Guyana, Her Excellency Sarah Ann Lynch, and UK High Commissioner to Guyana, His Excellency Greg Quinn, all of whom were in recent contact with Minister Todd, have since tested negative for COVID-19. Additionally, the Deputy UK High Commissioner Ray Davison and members of the US Envoy have tested negative for the disease. On Thursday, during a virtual discussion, Minister of Health Dr. Frank Anthony revealed that Guyana testing capacity will be robustly ramped up to ensure an effective response to COVID-19. With increased level of testing, the minister said Guyana will see more positive cases of the novel coronavirus.
Over the last couple of week or so, we have started to do more testing. We have streamlined the laboratory to ensure that we can do more testing. And we have placed more kits, testing kits, in the various regions. So what we actually have been doing over the last couple of days is testing more people. And as you do more tests, you're going to find more people that are positives.
Equipped in the regions to do increased testing allows for a more accurate representation of COVID-19 cases, the minister noted. The health minister further explained that many of the new cases are asymptomatic and mildly symptomatic, which presents an issue to health authorities who have been vigorously contact tracing persons who may have been exposed to the virus.
There are quite a few people who have been walking around quite comfortably, not coughing, don't have any fever, none of the typical or classical symptoms of COVID-19. But when you do the PCR testing, we are finding that they're negative. And this is something that we've seen around the world, and we are seeing that here in Guyana as well. So I think as we ramp up testing, we should expect that we'll be getting far more cases. And for those regions that was showing negative all along, so for example, in Region 6, we only have one person who was confirmed with PCR testing. And that has been the only result for Region 6. That does not mean that Region 6 perhaps do not have other cases. So when we start doing more testing in Region 6.
To this end, the minister announced that the ministry is weighing options to allow persons to self-quarantine or to self-isolate. He noted these strategies will be put in place to allow citizens to be cared for in the comfort of their homes.
Self-quarantine means that you have to be home, locked away in a room and not in contact with the other family members, so that you're separate and you don't, if you have the infection, you don't spread to anybody else in the home. And that you're staying home and not going out on the road and mingling with the general public. Unfortunately, we've had cases where people were placed in self-quarantine and self-isolation, and they have breached those rules. And when that happened, people then start seeing that, we should be moving people, not giving them this option of self-quarantine and self-isolation, but we should be moving all such cases into the institutions, right? But we still want to have people in this self quarantine and self isolation if they are going to comply with the rules.
The new PPPC administration is currently reviewing the criteria for reopening of the country while including measures which will guarantee the safety of citizens. In the new order to be issued, mandatory mask wearing will be highlighted while public compliance will be heavily emphasized. To date, the number of confirmed COVID-19 cases stands at 631. Seneca Thorne, InfoHub.
Minister of Education Honorable Priya Manikchand today revealed that the new PPPC government has taken a decision for schools to remain closed to face-to-face learning for September amid the COVID-19 pandemic.
Minister of Education Honorable Priya Manikchand stated that a decision was taken to halt the reopening of schools for September following discussions with key stakeholders.
We therefore cannot reopen schools on September 7th, 2020, as was previously scheduled. All schools shall remain closed to face-to-face teaching for the month of September, while we continue to review and evaluate the evolution of the disease and our schools' readiness.
The closure is, however, limited only to face-to-face interaction. Learning will continue using innovative learning techniques.
We will therefore have to use blended, multifaceted learning approaches in the coming months. We will have to tailor our approach based on the epidemiological patterns, physical spacing, internet connectivity, television reception, teacher availability, and I'm really only naming a few of the considerations. We're developing relevant curriculum content for delivery on the Learning Channel and are working to actually get the channel broadcasting widely in geographical areas where it has stopped broadcasting or has never broadcast before. We're working to deliver education on the internet, and we're developing learning kits and packages with print and other materials. We're also going to be retraining our teachers as far as we can to deliver education differently.
Engagements with relevant stakeholders further reveal that more students are at risk of becoming school dropouts, being away from school. As such, the ministry will ensure the most effective and far-reaching methods are used. Moreover, the ministry is actively working on a safety protocol in collaboration with the Ministry of Health for schools to be physically ready. This decision was also chiefly based on the President Muhammad Irfan Ali's concern for the lives and safety of students, teachers, and other staff, and by extension their families.
The government is currently examining the transparent disbursement of the $4.5 billion direct assistance, while at the same time providing support to those citizens who are severely affected due to the COVID-19 pandemic. These and other important matters related to oil and gas and more were addressed today by Vice President Honorable Dr. Bart Jagdeo during a media conference hosted at the Arthur Chong Conference Center.
Vice President Dr. Bart Jagdeo addressed the media this afternoon, this being his first media conference as Vice President. As he began, he spoke of the assessors who undertook a week of assessing the various ministries and government agencies. As he stated, in terms of the COVID-19 pandemic, he said, in his words, shocking state of disorganization found in the setup to combat COVID-19.
Frankly speaking, it was shocking about the state of disorganization and the lack of a clear strategy to address an existential issue for Guyana. And for those of you who saw what took place, you would recognize, for example, that the individuals were quick to give descriptive presentations about what is taking place, how many people have contracted the virus. And we said to them, We can read that in the newspapers. We want, because the newspapers and the media has been disseminating the information to the public. What we would like to get from you is to how to fix the problem and what help do you need to fix the problem. So first of all, how many tests can you do per day? And they did not know what was the capability of the country and how many tests per day could be done.
The vice president said that the structure in place was extremely political. He said there were no appropriate structures to address the pandemic at all.
So we said, how many testing kits do you have? We asked, and they had 2,000 testing kits. And in the entire country, because the private sector did not have any. And we said, well, if you have 2,000 testing kits and you have to get up to 350 tests per day, that's only 6 days of testing. And then we're out of testing kits. So we asked the gentleman from PAHO, how long would it take to get the kits in? And he said 2 months, additional kits. So in 6 days, we would have used up all of our kits if we were testing at the level they want to do, test that. And then it will take 2 months to get additional testing kits. So that was the state of affairs. And that is why I can relay to you or a ton of other issues that we found regard to the structures, etc. The structures were political in nature, extremely political. Harman's unit was made up mainly of politicians, not people to address medical or even people with socioeconomic experience to address the pandemic. Even the contact tracing, and many of the people hired there were political people.
Before we tell you what else he addressed this afternoon, let's just quickly update you. 10,000 testing kits came from Barbados to Guyana. These are, of course, the COVID-19 test. There are 50,000 more testing kits on the way, and there are additional machines to conduct those testing. The Vice President also indicated that personnel are being trained to conduct the COVID-19 test as well, as the frontline workers have been overworked since the beginning of the pandemic here in Guyana.
So there was no appropriate structure apart from the procurement and material deficit. There was no, there wasn't the appropriate structure to address the pandemic. And then they had grave issues about capabilities for quarantining and as well as addressing a medical response, emergency rooms, etc. And so that is what the president found, and he immediately said, we have to fix this. And so he started engaging the international community.
Even as the new government is just a week in office, the Vice President says to expect the national budget in about 21 days. In terms of the economy, the Vice President said that the contracts awarded through the National Tender Board to the regional tender boards are being fully investigated as well. In terms of the oil and gas sector, the Vice President noted that His Excellency is key on local content policy. In terms of the environment, the President is also committed to having Exxon provide adequate provision for environmental protection. As he wound up his media conference this afternoon, the Vice President noted that there is no witch hunting across the board. From the Artichon Conference Center with videographer Keon Blades, I'm Felicia Valenzuela, InfoHub.
More news after this break. Prime Minister Honorable Mark Phillips has highlighted the role played by former Barbadian Prime Minister Owen Arthur in restoring democracy in Guyana after the previous reprehensible regime.
Prime Minister Phillips has paid tribute to the late former Barbadian Prime Minister Owen Arthur. Prime Minister Phillips said that Arthur has left his mark across the Caribbean. The instrumental role Arthur played in the development of his country and Guyana was also highlighted. Owen Arthur headed the Commonwealth Observer Mission to Guyana for the March 2, 2020 elections and voiced strong criticism over the APNU-AFC coalition's effort to undermine the electoral process.
Elections in Guyana are conducted in accordance with specific guidelines embodied in the Constitution and law. So our function as observers is to observe the manner in which elections are conducted with reference to the processes that are supposed to be followed.
Unfortunately, Arthur passed away before the announcement of the results on August 2nd. He will always be remembered as a freedom fighter for democracy in Guyana. His memorial service was held in Barbados on Friday. For InfoHub, Akishi Budi.
A relocatable container scanning equipment was today handed over to the Ministry of Public Works by representatives from the Embassy of the People's Republic of China in Guyana. Minister of Public Works Honorable Bishop Juan Edgehill and Minister within the Ministry Honorable Deodat Indar were present at the handing over. The equipment is expected to provide uninterrupted operation of the Guyana Revenue Authority's scanning facility. It will also provide a high level of reliability and improve surveillance and safety. Minister Edgehill said this donation is testimony to the relationship between the governments of China and Guyana, one which the PPPC administration respects.
And let's get these containers moving and let's get things happening in Guyana. We want to ensure that Guyana is open for business. Guyana is a safe place to do business. We want to ensure that every opportunity for business in Guyana is optimized. We want to ensure that people view Guyana as a place where they will want to come because they could get done what needs to be done for them, and also Guyana must benefit from those arrangements. We look forward for a robust Guyana Revenue Authority. We look forward for a robust customs anti-narcotic operation. We look forward for a robust monitoring for safety in the movement of goods across our borders and moving on to international destinations.
Minister of Labor Honorable Joseph Hamilton has shared a roadmap that will see capacity building in all sectors as the government aims to transform the labor force in Guyana effectively.
The objectives of the Ministry of Labor, as I see it, and the three fundamental objectives. One is capacity building. Two, the whole issue of human development, how we ensure that the socioeconomic situation of citizens are upgraded. And thirdly, the rights of workers.
Minister of Labor Honorable Joseph Hamilton further explained that focus will be placed on the oil and gas and other emerging sectors.
I plan very shortly to engage all the companies that are in Guyana that are involved in the oil and gas industry, whether they're subsidiary, they're agents, they're subcontractors, so that I can sit with them and say, these are the laws of Guyana. And our expectations of you is this, to treat our people fairly. You come here, you expect that you must make good money on your returns. My expectation is that you must first respect the laws of Guyana. Secondly, you must treat our employees fairly.
To grasp an understanding of their operations to prepare them for the country's emerging developments, the minister will soon be meeting with the Guyana Trades Union Congress (GTUC) and the Federation of Independent Trade Unions of Guyana (FITOG), along with other umbrella organizations which fall under the ministry.
BIT program has to be restructured, it has to be expanded to allow for equal and even access, whether you're in the coastland or the hinterland. At the level of the Labor Department, at the level of the Occupational Health and Safety Department, we need to facilitate our staff learning Spanish and Portuguese, because they now have to interact with foreign-speaking people as employee and as employees. And therefore, I think it is the ministry's obligation to give that tool to the staff.
The Labour Ministry will also be collaborating with the Critchlow Labour College to deliver more industrial training to the youth. Another plan will see the Labour Ministry working along with the Guyana Prison Service to offer For InfoHub, Ayana George.
Remember to do your part to ensure you do not put yourself at risk during this time. If you have a cough, fever, and difficulty breathing, seek medical care early, but call the hotline first. That's all for today. Connect with us on all our social media platforms, including Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, and visit our website, dpi.gov.gy, as we bring you the latest and important news on what the government is doing to ensure the continued development of our country. Your Bridge reports are up next. Have a safe and enjoyable weekend. Goodbye.